All right, good day, my friends. I hope each one of you are doing well, and so glad to have you to have a discussion on the study beat and to talk about your successes and your challenges as you encounter the world. So, before we begin, just tell us something about you, introduction, and we will start with Mo P.
So, hi, Dr. Bell and participants. Thank you for having me. My name is Mo. I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina, originally from New Bern, and I was a member of the SOS Youth Vision program for many years. So, I'm happy to be here and continuing the work.
Thank you. What about you, Brother Kenneth?
My name is Kenneth Little. From New Bern, North Carolina. I currently reside in Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm a 15-year Navy veteran, and thank you for having me, and a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Brother McDuffie, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name's EJ McDuffie. I also was a member of the SOS Youth Vision program, as well as I'm also from New Bern, North Carolina. I currently reside in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I'm excited about being here tonight and seeing what conversation comes from this rich discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I am actually honored to be on this Zoom presentation with each one of you because I remember you all when you were little people, probably 6, 7, 8 years of age. So I'm feeling great about this experience. So let's get into our discussion. How did you get to this point in your life? And we will start with Mo P. How did you get to this point in your life?
Well, I think I've gotten here through perseverance and continuing to believe in myself. My family is a big part of what drives me to continue on, even in those hard days, and just taking responsibility and accountability for my own actions and my own future. And so I think that's really what's helped me to continue to progress despite, any difficulties or roadblocks that may have been there. Just believing in myself, taking accountability and responsibility for myself, and continuing to connect with good people.
Good, thank you. What about you, Kenneth? How did you get to this point in your life?
I got to this point from having good parents, good family background, learning at a young age. It pays to pay attention. Because somewhere down the line, you're gonna have to reach back into that bag of tutelage from your elders and how you learned to get where you're at today. So I got here through hard work, perseverance, and good teachers.
Good. What about you, Brother McDuffie? How do you get here?
So for me, I would say it was definitely my upbringing, my support system. I had two great parents I saw who were working hard to kind of make sure that me and my brothers they would go without to make sure that we had certain things. And so I saw that hard work and that determination very early. But even outside of that, I know that there's I don't know if it's an African proverb, but there's a proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. And so I was raised in the church. And so I had like church family as well as community family that was really, it was really imperative for my upbringing and my child rearing. Even being a part of the SOS Youth Vision program was also something that, kind of shaped and changed my trajectory as it relates to where I am now. So I would have to give all my credit to my family, God, and my support system.
Good. Let me just remind the remind or either inform others that the three of you all, as well as others, were part of an after-school initiative in New Bern, North Carolina, called the Support Our Students After School Program. It was a state-funded program that lasted from 1994 to 2005, and it provided cutting-edge activities and opportunities for students not only in New Bern, North Carolina, but in Craven County as well as Jones County. Additionally, Kenneth Little was part of an all-male black male group back in the early 90s, a youth vision that worked only with black males. And we did some fun and engaging opportunities to uplift those young brothers back in the early 90s. And subsequently, we did the after-school program. Just want to give the audience a visual understanding as to how grateful and proud I am, even though I could have been the father to all three, that I'm humble and grateful for your presence today. And so it's a blessing that we all come back. And I always tell people, sometimes when you cross over, it's important to go get them and bring them across as well. And so let's continue on with our discussion. Next question is to Brother McDuffie. What makes you possible? What makes you as a person possible? Why are your dreams and aspirations possible?
You know, when I think about that question, it kind of sends me down like this whirlwind of thoughts and memories and things like that. But like I said a little bit earlier, the fact that my parents, I saw the determination and the hard work, you know, working 3 or 4 jobs and things like that. They were kind of setting that foundation to let me know that there's no such thing as an excuse or reasoning for not kind of trying to achieve my goals and achieve my dreams. And there's been times, dark days, where I felt like for sure I wasn't going to be able to, you know, graduate from high school or graduate from college or do those types of things. But, you know, keeping a strong faith system and going back to keeping that support system, I had people in my corner who were always reminding me, like, EJ, you can do this. EJ, you can do this. You're not the first person to do this. And if you are the first person to do this, you sure won't be the last. And so, you know, even I know that we, I know that we were talking a little bit about Black history and things like that. Just having those trailblazers in our own community and seeing some of the struggles and some of the things that they were able to overcome also were some of the things that helped me kind of project to where I am now and make me believe that I am possible and the things and the goals that I want to achieve are also possible.
Now you mentioned this idea of faith. So was that something you read about or something you saw or something someone shared with you? How was faith demonstrated to you? Because you said earlier that you had some challenges and perhaps you just want to say, hey, I'm done. I just don't want to carry on any further. But to use the word faith. Where did that come from?
You know, I am a believer, so I believe in God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. So for me, that upbringing in the church was very, very important to me. And I remember as a child, they used to say that, you know, your parents can't save you in terms of like getting to heaven. So I had to build that faith, if I'm honest with you, Dr. Bell, you know, spending time in the Word, spending time with God, and also just looking for real life examples of things that I wanted to do in terms of achieving those dreams. So I think those are a few of the things that kind of help build my faith. And then the last thing I'll say is once you get over the hurdle or that dark time, then you see all along that, that you can do more than you even thought you could do. And so I think real life experience really does help build and round out your belief in your faith system.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for that, Brother McDuffie. What about you, Kenneth? What makes you possible?
What makes me possible is my background, my family bond, my religious beliefs, my dedication to putting my, doing something I put my mind to. Not being one-dimensional, but knowing that there are many things that I can do if I put my mind to it, and I just never limit myself to my abilities.
Okay, thank you. Mo P.
Yes, sir.
So what makes Mo P possible? I'm sitting here and looking and admiring Mo P and all the possibilities. What makes that possible?
Well, I think what makes me possible is my ability to embrace my uniqueness. Everything that you guys said, I absolutely agree with. Faith, our upbringings, being from New Bern, I think gives us a certain leg up, so to speak, because we understand the traditions, but we also, through SOS and Youth Vision, learn how to carry ourselves professionally at a very young age. But in the, I guess, grand scheme of things, I had to also learn to embrace that, there was only one of me. And some things that I thought didn't fit in some ways that I wouldn't be like the person next to me. And once I learned to embrace myself, that helped me to believe that everything that I wanted was just as possible as as the people I was reading about in Black History Month. That some of them had to overcome similar trials, and the odds were stacked up against them even higher than what we have to deal with. They've actually helped to knock some of that down for us and make it easier for us to walk through the door. So with that in mind, and attaching myself to the belief that, like, I am one of one, and been embracing that has allowed me to continue to follow my path and really understand that what I want is possible, because I'm the only one that can make it happen the way that I can make it happen.
That is so true. I'll often use the phrase, I am what others thought was impossible. And so that's how I try to carry myself, or have carried myself. And something you said about looking back at history and understanding the trials and the challenges that folk look like you and I, and they were able in many ways to exceed. And so if they can overcome in many ways to achieve, then in 2021, then what is the excuse that we will give ourselves for what we need to do? And so you're right, sometimes history and those in the village give us the strength to just carry on a little further, to try to do more. And that's a good point you made. So let's just carry on and think about and brag about ourselves for a minute or two, or several. That's good too. What makes you proud of yourself? What makes you proud? Just imagine yourself when you glance in front of the mirror, as you walking by the mirror, as just when you get up in the mornings and you just behold the dawning of a new day, and you just begin that day, and you go outside and you witness Mother Nature and all the glory of nature. What makes you proud of yourself? What about you, Kenneth? What makes you proud?
Oh man, that's a good one. What makes me proud of myself is I I can say that I've overcame a lot of things. When I look in the mirror, I see somebody great. I see someone distinguished. I have a lot of dignity, and I walk with my head up with a lot of pride, and I instill that into my sons as well. So it's just to be a leader, to be someone to look up to. And I got nephews and stuff, and they look up to me as well, and they tell me they want to be like me. I tell them, nah, you be better than me. You know, you can do what I do, but I want you to be better. So.
Oh yeah. What about you, Brother McDuffie? What makes you proud? You know.
As I heard you read the question, I started thinking that in this new age of technology and social media, we get into this comparison type thing where, you know, if you're not married by 30 and had kids and had a house and become a millionaire by 30, then, you know, you haven't done anything, you haven't accomplished anything. But when you asked me that question, I really had to go back and think, you know, I'm proud to have graduated from high school. Like you said earlier, we just to start there, we've done something that some of our ancestors wouldn't have been able to do. You know, we actually have a K-12 education. I'm proud to have a college degree as well as a master's degree. I'm a proud father. I'm a proud husband. I'm a proud son. I'm a proud uncle. I'm a proud brother. Like, and the list goes on. And maybe 10, 15 years ago, I don't know that I would have been able to see what I see now with clear vision. But I thank God that I'm on the other side of some of those struggles and things that I spoke about a little bit earlier. To Kenneth's point, I have nieces, nephews, a little brother, things like people like that who look up to me. And like I said before, or maybe I haven't said that tonight, but I come from a higher education background. And so even being in that arena, I have young Black men who look up to me, who, when they first meet me, they think I'm on their level in terms of same age. And I got to let them know, you know, I'm probably about 10, 15 years older than you. But, you know, it makes me proud to be able to be a role model and to be an example. And no, I haven't crossed every T and dotted every I, but I do have life experience and I do have some accomplishments that I can kind of, for lack of a better term, send the elevator back down and show people how to at least get to the level that I am at.
That's good.
So those are some of the things that I'm really proud about.
Well, I must say, Brother McDuffie, when you say send the elevator back down, that made me proud. That was a good one. And sometimes, Onisha, we forget to send the elevator back down and to get people. So what are your thoughts, Mo P?
Well, once I heard that question, my first thought was that you guys are making me so proud right now. Like, just to be considered among y'all, and to like further validate like where I come from. Like, I'm proud to be from New Bern because I know that excellence comes from there. I grew up in it, you know, and another thing is just like my own personal accomplishments, overcoming those odds, being from New Bern that were against me. Outside of, education, I'm proud of just being a good person. You know what I'm saying? Running business, being a Black business owner. I'm proud to help others. That's literally what makes me most proud of myself. And so, of course, I've always been interested in academia and such, but I'm also, someone who just understands that there's an inadequacy, and that is where I'm able to reach back and maybe help someone up who struggles with the basics of that, So when I am looking in the mirror and walking by it,
All right now.
I'm proud of my skin color. Yeah. I'm proud to be a woman.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be who I am as a person. But I'm also proud of the company that I keep.
Yes. And those are good things to be proud of. At this very moment, as I sit and as I listen and see, I'm proud. Because I saw little people, I saw little tiny people, many years ago. As I said earlier, 6 and 7, 8 years of age, I saw little people. And here you all, some of you all, almost just as old as I am. Kenneth, for example. So this is a moment that makes me proud. Because just imagine when we first encountered each other at such a young age. Who would have imagined this day? Who would have imagined this day in 2021 that we will be on Zoom talking about what happened, your challenges, your improvements over the years when you were such young people? Who would have imagined that? Who would imagine that I used to give E.J. McDuffie rides from middle school to the after school program? Who would imagine I used to call Mo Pete Dumpling? Growing, as a little 6-year-old, 7-year-older. Who would imagine that? Who would imagine that Kenneth Little would have been president of a youth group that we started back in the early 90s? And here we are in 2021. So this moment here, I'm proud just to be among the young thinkers and the young minds. So let's move right on. The next question: how would you want history to record you, your legacy? Now, some might say, oh, they're young. We have to begin somewhere in building and to leave something behind. So what would your legacy be? What would you want history to say about you, McDuffie? What would you want history? If I was writing a history book, what would it say about Brother McDuffie?
For me, it kind of goes back to that last question. All the things that I'm proud of in terms of being a proud father, a proud husband, a proud son, all of those types of things. But also, I've said this to my wife recently, if in truth and in transparency. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want to be looked at through rose-colored glasses. Like I said, I haven't crossed every T and dotted every I, but I've been able to overcome obstacles throughout life and get to where I am now. And I think in this generation, and I'm speaking for myself included, that they refer to us as the microwave generation, where we are born one day and then the next day we want to be super successful. But, there's a journey and there's a process. And I often say you have to trust the process. And so I would want my legacy to be recorded in truth and in honesty. But also I want my legacy to be shown through the lives that I've been able to change for the people around me, including family members, my support system, even down to my 2 daughters. When people talk about their father in my absence, I want them to be proud. I want them to say, yes, that's my daddy right there. And you better not say nothing crazy about him. So that's the legacy that I want to be. I want my legacy to live on and that people know about me in a way of, he wasn't perfect, but that he would give you the shirt off his back. He was an honest guy. He was a proud husband, proud father, all of those types of things. So that's how I want to be remembered and want my legacy to be recorded in history.
Good. What about you, Kenneth? How would history record you? How would you want history to record you?
Well, as I could put it, I was just thinking that history already recorded me because I'm here in this moment, on this stage. We're discussing, reminiscing from when we were younger to where we are now. So history is still going for us. And as a strong black man, I look at where I'm still going, and then my kids growing up, following in my footsteps, or if I want to follow in their own footsteps to see, hey, my dad was this type of person, my dad was that type of person. He made a difference. He made an impact. And on one of the questions that my legacy is being written as it is, because in the military, as you spoke about me being the president of Youth Vision. I can recall a time in the military that I was the student company commander, which is the highest position in a school. Well, at that time where I was at, I was the CEO of my school, over 30-some people through my whole training for like 6 months. So, and I never lost my position. And so I led my troops on to doing better things and gave them tutelage and all good things. So my history is one within itself. And so that's why I want my legacy to be remembered or be written as that guy he did something great for the people, for his people.
Excellent, excellent. What about you, Mopi? How will history record you?
Well, Kenneth, I did want to say you definitely are history as one of the first presidents of Youth Vision. That is for sure. And so we commend you for that. Also, thank you for your service. And for me, it's just that I want people to remember that I like to have fun, that I made people smile, and that I try to brighten people's day. If you remember me in that way, then you'll gather my true essence. I tell the family that, we're going to do this. When I go out, we're going to go out New Orleans style so that we can party in the streets because that's how I live my life, with joy and happiness. And when I couldn't find it, I went and looked for it. I tried to bring it back. And so whatever happened, I wouldn't let it keep me down, that I was a fighter and I got back up. More importantly, though, we're trying to build these businesses. We want to create assets for our children instead of debt. We want to create businesses that they can come into it and understand how it feels to have a trust fund or generational wealth. So we're trying to break some of those curses. And on top of that, that as a woman, I held myself with dignity and poise, and I held myself up to the standards of my mother and my grandmother. And so I come from a long line of strong Black women, and I intend to pass that down to my children. But I also want my children to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable and to cry and to laugh and to smile, and that we don't always have to keep it together, but we can reach out to our people who are our resources, and they can help to build us back up. EJ said earlier how it takes a village to raise a child, and so I want to break that spirit of we got to do it all by ourselves and we can do it all alone. I want to encourage my children to continue my legacy, which was, it took me nothing to talk to anybody in the room. And it took me nothing to show kindness and compassion to people, no matter who they were, or how they identified, or what their problem was. And that I was actually someone who spoke up for it. I want to make another point that oftentimes when we look at Black historians, we see a lot of commas behind their name, that they were publishers, activists, mothers, fathers, EJ, just like you were saying. And so not to limit ourselves to being one thing, but to encourage my children or the members of my family that come after me to create their legacy and be all that they can be and embrace all parts of themselves. So I feel really passionate about that question. Thank you for asking it, Dr. Bill.
Now, I'm taking credit for all three of you all. I'm just sitting here in awe. I'm taking credit. So tell your mamas and your daddies that I'm taking all the credit. I'm taking all the credit. One of the words, some of the words to lift up your voice and sing. There's a couple words in that song that resonates with me. One part of that song talks about a steady beat, a movement, a progression to achievements. So when you think about your steady beats in life, from where you are now to where you want to go, so what's your beat? What keeps you beating? What keeps you moving towards the goal, to the prize? What keeps you moving there, getting there? What about you, McDuffie, Brother McDuffie? What moves you? What's your steady beat?
So for me, 2009 is when my life changed. It was April 20th of 2009 was when my first daughter was born. And ever since then, I really had a reason to live for someone else other than myself. And so we just talked about this a little bit earlier about the legacy that you want to live and the legacy that you want to leave and the life that you want to live. For me, it was being a role model and being an example for her. Excuse me. I knew at that moment that my daughter did not ask to be here, and she did not ask to be, on earth. And so it was my responsibility to do everything that I could to be able to provide for her and give her, everything that she needed as a little person. And so for me, I had the support system, and I also had a good upbringing. So those are also some of the things that made me proud. My as far as I know, my grandparents, they only completed a high school education, and so that was one of my goals, was to get a high school diploma. And I remember when I started talking to my guidance counselor in high school and talking about college and stuff, she was like, "Oh, you sure you're ready? You sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am sure. I want to go to college and just do some things, College was a good time for me, and it was, to Mo's point, the upbringing that I received in New Bern. We had great examples like Dr. Bell here, who took us on college tours and things like that, and we were able to see college campuses and talk to college people, college students. And so when you have a great support system and you have a good upbringing, I often tell my students, or my old students now, that I'm all about exposure. So when your brain has been exposed to something, you can no longer think any other way. So if you go over to Spain and you immerse yourself in the culture, if you come back to the States, your brain will not think the same. Even if you never go back to Spain, just the way that you view America, your vision, your passions, all of those types of things will change. Even down to the things that you like to eat will change. And so that's what it is for me, that you have to be exposed to certain things. And I think that my exposure level at an early age also helped propel me to where I am now, and kind of helps keep me on that steady beat that you mentioned, Dr. Bill.
You're right, Brother McDuffie, with the notion of exposure. Because if you don't know, you don't know, and you have no comparison. But once you know something, then there is a comparison, and you begin to think about other ways and other possibilities. And that's one of the things I always attempted to do with the after-school program, is exposure. Let's do some things that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do. So you could be exposed. So you can look at differences, and you can have choices, and you can have experiences. So just imagine people who don't have those experiences. who don't have that exposure, but yet you have been exposed and you have experienced things, and it becomes a conflict, especially if those same persons are in your circle. You think in one way, and they're thinking another way. You have experienced this, and they had never experienced that. And so exposure is so important. What about you, Kenneth? What's your steady beat? What keeps you going?
My steady beat is knowing that, first of all, when I wake up in the morning, I know that I got another chance to keep making things right in my life. That I have a purpose on this earth, and that is to be great. Nothing short of that.
Yes.
I just know that from my background and growing up, and I had a little trouble as a kid, mischief or whatever, and I learned from my mistakes. I've had some naysayers out there, and and then I've had those that believed in me, those who didn't believe in me, but it's all about expectations. I expect a lot of myself more so now than what someone else expects of me. Because I'm the one that has to go through life to endure, the things, the weight that is on my shoulder, only I can carry that weight. I wouldn't expect anyone else to carry it for me. So I have to go with a strong fight, a strong mindset, determination, remembering my past, remembering my teachings, the tutelage as I spoke about earlier, and that same reference of that my steady beat is I can't stop, and I'm not going to stop. I have too many great things in me to get out, to show the world, to teach my sons, to teach my nephews, to teach my nieces, to teach everyone. And you're never too old or too young to learn and still get a good lesson in life. So my steady beat is giving, continue to give back what was given to me, which was a good, fruitful life. And that's my beat.
Yeah, something that Kenneth said and McDuffie said, Mo P, that reminded me of growing up, of course, you all know, grew up in New Bern. Earlier years, Q2, 323, Craven Terrace. Boy who was on free and reduced lunch. An average student. I think I was an average student, but I was a consistent student. McDuffie, you mentioned the school counselor discussion. I can even remember, I think it was in the 9th grade, it was 1 grade, where you took some kind of vocational aptitude test or something at that time, and to determine whether or not you should be college material or seek a vocation. Of course, the boy from the projects results came back, he should just seek a vocation according to the standardized test that I had taken. But I knew I was possible beyond a vocation. Not that there's anything wrong with a vocation, but I know my strengths and my limits, and I know what I can and cannot do with my hands. And so knowing who we are as people and having that steady beat to move gradually towards a goal, that was something that I had to do not only for me, but as we talked about earlier, Mo P, it was the ancestors. If they did it, then why not me? If my great aunt in 1949 entered the University of Pennsylvania to work on a master's degree in 1949, and knowing her story and listening to those stories of different family members, I could do that. And so with a steady beat, it's a movement, it's a progression, and getting there eventually. But even with that gradual procession, I might not get there with you, Mopi, but if I have grit and determination, I'm gonna get there. So what are your thoughts, Mopi?
I agree with you 100%. And what EJ and Kendra said was awesome. I think two things that I took out was that exposure, and I think what is my steady beat? It would be where I come from. I often return home, and if you guys are watching this live, y'all will see me riding through Craven Terrace, Trent Court, Duffy Field, pulling up to 5 Point. All of those things remind me, and it pushes me when I would be somewhere else and living somewhere else, and kind of lose my fire or my judge. I would return home. Sometimes as often as once a month, just to see my family, but to see those places that I grew up, and to have that revive me. And so, when that pulse was fading, that's how I was able to jolt it, because I would put myself back into those dark situations and remember those dark days. Like Kenneth was saying, remembering my tutelage and what I learned and what I've been taught. That required me to ride by old youth vision, to go down, the one way, or ride up the horseshoe, to ride past W2352 that is no longer there. And so I was often conflicted by that, because there was this constant contradiction of living on the waterfront and living in the projects. And that is at the essence of what beats, is that I deserve this waterfront in the most beautiful way, but I understand where my people are and where we've been confined to, and that it should be better. And that's what inspires me to work, despite the discrepancies or the disadvantages or the disparities that I have coming from this community. I would not be as effective as I plan to be or as I intend to be without having that lived experience. And Dr. Bell, I think that's the same for you. Don't think you would be the person, that we all looked up to in this way if you had not come from where we were. And so I definitely appreciate you for showing us what was possible. And so with the steady beat and with that constantly being in my heart and in my pulse, and it's just in my blood, then that reminds me to continue to do my work, and also to fight for things that necessarily need to change, especially right there in New Bern. So I'm somewhere else, but my heart is always in New Bern.
Absolutely. So, McDuffie, what would you tell your younger self today? What would you have told your younger self?
I would tell myself to trust the process. Thing doesn't always work out the way you envisioned it or the way that you wanted it to, but all things always work out for your good. So, there's going to be some dark days. There's going to be some tough times. There's going to be some disappointment. The friends that you started with won't necessarily be the friends that you finish with, but you'll always have exactly what you need. And 9 times out of 10, you already have exactly what you need. You just need it to be awakened in you. We're all born, like Mo referenced earlier, we're all born a one of one. After we were created, the mold was broken. And so we already have exactly what we need to be able to achieve what we want to. We just have to believe it and trust the process.
Yeah, that's in trusting the process, as you mentioned earlier, it's about faith. I can trust the process because I'm faithful. And so those two go hand in hand, as you discussed earlier. What about you, Mopi?
I definitely agree with that, because I have that.
Right. Good stuff. So as we are about to wrap up with closing thoughts, be it anything poetic you wish to say, any other closing remarks, please do. Let me just say before we end, again, thank you to each one of you for the things that you have done and the things that you will do. I'm grateful to have been a part in each one of you, your lives, and look forward to more to come. And that's a good thing. And so we can have your closing thoughts, Brother Ernest E. McDuffie.
So first of all, thank you, Dr. Bell, for reaching back and letting us come tonight and have such rich discussion. For those of you who don't know, me and Mo P are classmates. We graduated the same year, and I probably hadn't seen her, probably since graduation or a little bit after graduation. Oh, wow. So for us, this is like a family reunion. So class of 07. So thank you for that, Dr. Bell. What I would say is, trust the process, you all, in whatever that you do, and set big, lofty goals. I used to work for a company, and we called the goals big, hairy, audacious goals. So if your goals aren't scaring you, then your goals aren't big enough. And I love what Kenny said when he told his younger self to ask questions. A lot of times we think that if we ask questions, we're going to seem like we don't know what's going on, or we're not smart enough, or we're going to seem inferior. But I think it's in the asking and questions and the thirst for knowledge is where you build your support system, because people start to realize, like, oh, Kenneth is going through some of the same stuff that I'm going through, or Mo P is going through some of the same things that I'm going through. And then you start to network and build that synergy. And so don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to have that thirst for knowledge. Don't be afraid to show that you don't know it all. And like I said, always set big, hairy, audacious goals and trust the process. I'm telling you, you're gonna end up way better than you thought you would with those goals and trusting the process.
Thank you. What about you, Kenneth? Closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts would be on dreaming. I love to dream. There's nothing better than a good dream, and you can wake up smiling and knowing that in your dream that you made it, but then in reality, you can still make it. You just have to believe and put forth the work that what you dreamed about, and revisit that dream. Lay down and put it in your mindset. Get it in the forefront of your mind, and I'll just share this about dreaming. It goes, life is just a dream full of inspiration and realities. For when we awake, we're still faced with the formalities of everyday living, constant uplifting, but then all the while, back and forth, your mind is shifting. Some with questions, others with questions, afraid to speak. Do you have a suggestion? A lesson was taught. Did you learn anything from it? Did you give it your all? Did you go for the summit? Stand tall, don't be afraid, move forward, never go back. Only knowledge not learned is the knowledge we lack. It's a time for everything within its own situation. Cleanse your mind and soul, self-purification. Changes upon changes. When bulbs go dim, they require the changes. The light stays burning bright on the darkest nights. Looking across the horizon, watching birds take flight. Over and beyond, I lose my mind to the dreamer. Everything is real, I'm a made believer. But in my world, as I stand, satisfaction guaranteed. The only thing I know how to do is succeed. Thank you.
All right now. Mo P, give us those closing thoughts.
Yes. So, of course, I'm happy and thankful to be here with y'all. Y'all are all inspiring and amazing. I wrote a poem about, how I was feeling about Black History Month. And most importantly, I think all my energy just comes from what is called intersectionality. And it's the fact that things cross paths, the fact that you're Black, the fact that you're a woman, the fact that you may identify differently. So really pay attention to what all may be conspiring as oppressive forces and focus on overcoming those things. So Black History Month 28 days ain't enough to tell the whole story of us. We're going to need a whole year, maybe a century. Do you have time to review 400 years of history and beyond? Ain't nobody got time for that. So we wait and hope they'll teach us in school over the 13 years we're there if we're lucky, but freedom ain't free. So we pay for it in tolls on the school to prison pipeline and 18 years of parenting, children without fathers and fathers without presence. And we pay for it with forms of government assistance so that our resistance ain't too loud. Because, child, who said that we could put our phones down and turn off our TVs to learn our histories and ancestry, to find our roots when we're rooted in untruths, like things will never change, always be the same, and white supremacy? Don't miss the premise. See, we've been taught and now must unlearn, because it's our turn to write the history books that circulate in our communities. And look, Africa is on the first page, because there is no civilization to ever exist without a black face. And 28 days ain't enough. We're going to need the future and at least 400 years. Time capsules buried in indigenous soil, irrigated by our foreparents' blood, sweat, and tears. Black History Month will soon be gone, but we must not give out, and we will pass our history down, if only by word of mouth, throughout the South and into the North, throughout the woods of freedom's forest, following the paths of Moses and Maya, rising above ground. Who knows if we shall overcome or be overrun by our own unconscious biases? When the chariot sings lowly, will it carry home a generation to bring about reparations? Ain't that what we want? More than just a month? 28 days ain't appeasing. What else can you do to free me? The years have passed and are leaping. The strange fruit still swinging. Redeem yourselves and grant justice in the front. Black Lives Matter, and for more than just a month. Thank you again.
The only thing I'm going to say is amen, amen, and amen to each one of you. I am humbled by your presence. Thank you, my brothers and my sisters. I bid you farewell. Take care.
All right. Yes,